Ever feel like you're grappling with those really big questions?
Yeah.
You know, the ones like who we are and what happens like after we die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so today's deep dive takes us straight to a text that's been wrestling with those questions for centuries, the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
We're looking at chapter 8,
Okay.
where things get really interesting.
Right.
Now, I know the Gita can seem kind of daunting, but
Yeah.
think of this as like a guided tour through one of its most thought-provoking chapters.
Yeah.
We're zeroing in on this dialogue between Arjuna, a warrior facing a huge dilemma, and Krishna, who's his charioteer, but also, get this, an embodiment of the divine. Talk about an intense therapy session.
Yeah.
It all begins with Arjuna, totally overwhelmed on a battlefield, posing some seriously big questions to Krishna. I mean, his very first one is a doozy. What is Brahman? That ultimate reality everyone keeps talking about.
It's a question that has echoed through spiritual traditions for ages. Arjuna is grappling with the very nature of existence itself, and Krishna dives right in, explaining that Brahman is the constant, unchanging reality behind everything we see and experience in this, well, ever-shifting world.
Okay, so we've got this underlying reality, but what about us?
Yeah.
Our individual selves.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Arjuna's next question comes in, right? What's this Atman all about?
Exactly. Arjuna is digging deeper into the nature of the self, and Krishna describes Atman as that individual spark of consciousness within us, a reflection of that universal consciousness, Brahman. The part of you that observes, experiences, makes choices.
So if Brahman is like this vast ocean, then our Atman is a drop of that same water, intrinsically connected to the source.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And this leads us to Arjuna's question about karma, which is often misunderstood.
Yeah.
He's trying to understand how our actions, our choices fit into this bigger picture of Brahman and Atman.
Yeah, karma can sometimes feel like this cosmic scorecard, where good deeds get you rewards and bad deeds, well, not so much. But Krishna kind of paints a different picture, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Krishna explains that karma is less about punishment and reward and more about cause and effect playing out within the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Every action, every thought creates this ripple effect that influences our journey.
It's like we're all throwing pebbles into this pond of existence, and those ripples, those karmic consequences, keep influencing things even after the pebble sinks.
Precisely. And Arjuna, being a warrior, is acutely aware of his actions and their consequences, especially because he's facing a battle where he might have to fight against people he loves. So he asks Krishna what happens at the moment of death, particularly for those who've been striding for self-control.
It's a heavy question, right? We're all going to face that final moment, so it's no surprise that Arjuna wants some insight into what might lie beyond. And Krishna doesn't shy away from the topic, does he? He even brings in this whole description of Brahma's day and night.
Right. It's like Krishna is saying, to understand death, you need to understand these rhythms of the cosmos. He describes how Brahma, the creator god, experiences these incredibly vast cycles of creation and dissolution, thousands of ages for both day and night.
Yeah, I have to admit, my mind kind of boggles at the thought of a day lasting thousands of ages. Almost impossible to grasp that kind of time scale. But what's the connection to us, to our human experience?
That's where it gets really interesting. You see, just as Brahma experiences these vast cycles, we too go through mini cycles of creation and destruction every single day. Our thoughts, emotions, experiences constantly arising and passing away. Recognizing this can help us become more present, more aware of the transient nature of everything.
So it's like those Russian nesting dolls, but with cosmic significance. Brahma's got his massive cycles, and we've got our own smaller versions playing out within that larger framework.
Yeah.
It's a lot to wrap your head around. It's like we're all part of this incredible cosmic dance,
Right.
but with our own steps to learn. And speaking of steps, Krishna doesn't just leave Arjuna with this mind-blowing cosmic picture, right?
Right.
He goes on to outline different paths
Yeah.
you take after death.
Yeah.
Paths of light and darkness. It's giving me serious choose-your-own-adventure vibes,
Yeah.
but with, like, eternal consequences.
Right. It's a powerful image. The path of light, as Krishna describes it, is about detachment,
Okay.
about releasing our grip on material desires and ego-driven pursuits. It's the path that leads to liberation, to merging back into that pure consciousness, Brahman.
It's like, imagine finally letting go of all the worries and anxieties that keep us tethered to this cycle of suffering. That's a powerful idea. But achieving that kind of detachment, that sounds like a serious undertaking.
It is. It's not about checking out of life, but about changing our relationship to it. Think about it this way. Imagine if you could experience the ups and downs of life without getting so caught up in the drama, without letting those external things define your inner state of being.
Okay, that makes sense. It's more about finding that place of inner stillness amidst the chaos. So if that's the path of light, what about this path of darkness? It sounds kind of ominous.
Well, Krishna describes it as the path tied to attachment, to clinging tightly to material possessions, to desires, to that sense of separation from the divine. It's the path that perpetuates the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
It's not so much about being bad, but about being bound by those attachments, by that limited sense of self.
Exactly. And here's the key takeaway. Krishna emphasizes that these paths aren't predetermined. It's not like you're assigned a path at birth.
Right.
It's about the choices we make, the intentions we cultivate, the actions we take throughout our lives. They all create this karmic momentum propelling us towards one path or the other.
So we have agency even when it comes to those seemingly massive forces like karma and rebirth. That's actually really empowering. But how do we actually make choices that align us with that path of light, that liberation Krishna is talking about?
That's where the practical side of the Gita comes in. Krishna offers several techniques for spiritual growth, and one of the most powerful is the practice of meditating on O.
Okay, so we're not just talking about Om as like a catchy chant you hear in yoga studios.
Right. Krishna describes OM as this sacred syllable, a sonic representation of Brahman itself.
Okay.
And by meditating on OM, by focusing our attention on its sound and vibration, we begin to align ourselves with that ultimate reality.
I've tried meditating before, and let's just say my mind has a knack for wandering. What's the secret sauce here? How do we actually meditate on OM in a way that gets us those results?
Well, the Gita outlines a process. It starts with gaining control over the senses, those gateways that are constantly pulling our attention outward.
Oh, tell me about it. My phone alone is a constant source of distraction.
Exactly. But by consciously withdrawing our attention from those external distractions, from the endless stream of sensory input, we create the space for deeper inner exploration.
Okay.
It's like turning down the volume on the outside world so we can finally hear that subtle whisper of our inner wisdom.
So it's not about becoming totally detached from the world, but about learning to choose where we direct our attention.
Precisely. And once we've learned to quiet the senses, the next step is directing the mind inward.
Easier said than done right. My mind tends to be more like a room full of monkeys swinging from thought to thought.
Very relatable image. But just like we train our bodies through physical exercise, we can train our minds through meditation. And that's where focusing on the sound or vibration of OM comes in.
So no multitasking, no mental to-do lists while meditating, just pure focused attention on OM.
You got it. This single-pointed focus helps to calm that mental chatter, allowing us to access a deeper level of awareness, a stillness that's always present beneath the surface of our thoughts.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works, but the Gita also talks about prana, right? That feels a bit more esoteric.
Prana is often translated as life force energy. Imagine it as this subtle energy that flows through us, animating our bodies, fueling our thoughts and emotions. And the Gita suggests that we can learn to consciously direct this prana through specific practices, enhancing our meditation even further.
So it's like we're going from a meditation app to the full yoga control panel. We've got sense control, focused attention, and now we're adding prana direction to the mix. What does all this get us? What are the benefits of going full-on OM and energy work?
The Gita highlights some pretty incredible benefits. For one, it cultivates this deep sense of inner harmony and peace. Not the kind that depends on external circumstances, but a peace that arises from within, from connecting with that unchanging reality, Brahman.
That kind of unshakable peace, that's something we could all use a bit more of in our lives, right? But it's more than just feeling calm and relaxed, isn't it?
You're right. The Gita also suggests that this practice can help us access higher states of consciousness, allowing us to experience that interconnectedness between our individual selves and the universal consciousness.
So we're not just chilling out on a meditation cushion. We're tapping into something far greater than ourselves, something truly profound.
Exactly. And that realization, that glimpse of our true nature as Atman, can be transformative. It shifts our perspective on everything, including those big questions we started with about life, death, and what lies beyond.
It's like suddenly seeing the world in HD.
Yeah.
You know, realizing our connection to something so much bigger.
Yeah.
But the Gita doesn't stop there.
Right.
It takes this whole concept of spiritual growth like a step further, suggesting that true liberation goes beyond even the rewards of good karma.
Absolutely. The Gita reminds us that even those who accumulate good karma, who live really virtuous lives, might still find themselves bound to that cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. True liberation, what's often called moksha, requires a shift in our very being, a recognition of our true nature as Atman.
So it's not just about racking up good deeds,
Right.
but about fundamentally changing how we approach action itself.
Exactly. Imagine a world where all your actions arise not from a desire for reward or recognition, but from a place of deep inner peace, from an understanding of your inherent connection to everything and everyone.
It's like that idea acting without attachment to the fruits of your actions, not letting the desire for a specific outcome dictate your choices,
Right.
but acting from a place of clarity and understanding.
Precisely. It's about embodying that wisdom in every aspect of our lives, in our relationships, our work, even the way we approach challenges and setbacks.
That's a powerful concept. It's like, what if instead of getting caught up in the drama of success and failure, we could approach everything with that same sense of equanimity, that inner stillness that comes from realizing our true nature?
The Gita invites us to explore that possibility. It encourages us to see the world through the lens of this timeless wisdom, to make choices that align us not just with good karma, but with true liberation.
So we've journeyed from the battlefield of Arjuna's doubts to the depths of Brahman, from the cycles of the cosmos to the power of O. We've explored paths of light and darkness and even glimpsed the potential for true liberation. That's quite a deep dive.
It is. But remember, this is just a starting point. The Bhagavad Gita's wisdom has resonated for centuries, offering insights that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago.
It's a text that rewards repeated exploration, contemplation, even meditation. And speaking of contemplation, we wouldn't want to leave you without a final thought to ponder something to carry with you as you move through your day.
Exactly. So here's a question based on the Gita's teachings. If you could truly internalize this concept of Brahman, that unchanging reality underlying all of existence, how might your perspective on your daily challenges shift? Would those everyday stressors seem as significant? Would you approach your interactions with others differently?
What a powerful question to sit with. It's like, imagine looking at your life, your relationships, even your to-do list through the lens of that vast, unchanging reality. It might just change everything.
And as you continue to explore these ideas, just remember you're not alone on this journey. We're all sparks of that same divine essence navigating this human experience together.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita's Chapter 8. We hope it sparked your curiosity, challenged your assumptions, and maybe even inspired you to delve a little deeper into this timeless text. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.